Well, fellow sports fans, this is Tiggy Maximus again. Quite a weekend of sports. We had the big upset of Canelo Alvarez actually losing a boxing match to Bivol, who is trying to go for Bivol's light heavyweight championship. Um, Canelo going from weight class to weight class, winning titles left and right, but he finally met someone that was his match, and I was taken aback by the fact that when I was watching UFC 274 at Society Bar in Pacific Beach, just to find out a big breaking news that Canelo had lost, and I was like, wow. At the same time, I'm watching UFC 274 with my buddies, and I picked out a great place down in Pacific Beach. Has like pool tables, foosball tables, ping pong tables, great food, great environment, and um, I'm watching UFC 274, and I'm watching Charles Oliveira, who did miss weight, so he couldn't actually win his 155-pound championship. However, for the third straight fight that I've seen him in, he got knocked down by a striker, and he came back and he submitted the other guy. In this case, Charles Oliveira actually submitted Justin Gaethje. Now Gaethje, he was eligible to win the 155 championship, but the way that I was feeling how this fight was going to go and how I feel about both fighters, Justin Gaethje is just purely a striker with a strong wrestling background, actually. However, it was no match for Charles Oliveira in his submission game and some knockout power in his hands, actually, and it was on display during the main event. So Charles Oliveira is actually the number one contender for the 155 championship, assuming he can get his weight issues in check, and he should be fighting for the title next time around. The 155 championship is on display, and there's quite a few guys that might want to take a crack at him and try to take that title away from Charles Oliveira. Um, there's Islam Makachev, who I feel is a good matchup with Charles Oliveira, and it'd be a great matchup to be on the ground if they don't want to, stand up and strike. And of course, there's always running it back with. I suppose you could try to run it back with Justin Gaethje or Michael Chandler. Um, I probably wouldn't put Tony Ferguson in there because he got front kick knocked out by Michael Chandler, and I honestly think Tony Ferguson might actually just might not even be fighting that much longer. Actually, after seeing what was it, like 3, 4 straight fights in a row, losing to top talent, and just knowing that he just can't hang with these guys anymore. So like it might be a good time for him to just walk away. There is a wild card. Um, there is the 145 champion, um, Alex Volkanovski. He's on a big tear, and he is actually scheduled to fight for a third time with Max Holloway. I believe it's going to be this summer. But there was been some talk that he was flirting with just trying to go up to 155 and also take that title as well. And he feels that he is a great matchup for Charles Oliveira. So that's a super fight I would like to see. The 145 champ and the supposed, I guess I could still consider Charles Oliveira the 155 champ too. So seeing both champions fight each other, and then Alex Volkanovski might actually beat him. He might actually outwork him. And I do see a Charles Oliver also having a good chance too, because since if they get to the ground and it gets to a point where there's a submission move, um, I don't know, Volkanovski can get actually out of Oliveira's submission. So I would love to see that fight down the road. Should Alex Volkanovski actually get past Max Holloway? So um, there was also what just happened earlier today. The Padres actually walked off with a 3-run homer by their catcher Alfaro. Padres were down 2-0 to the Florida Marlins, and I thought the Padres were going to lose. Honestly, their offense hasn't been clicking. Their pitching can only go for so long, but Padres down to their last out. They threw in a pitch hitter, Alfaro, and the first pitch that was thrown to him, and he just launched it dead center field, 2 guys on, and Padres went 3-2. That was pretty awesome, and you can just feel it. And the fact that it was today was Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day for that. A happy Mother's Day victory for the Padres. Those are pretty awesome. Also, yesterday there was the Kentucky Derby. So I actually initially had picked Zidane to win the Kentucky Derby yesterday, and he was in good position to do so. He was actually head to head with the favorite, Epicenter. They were down the stretch, neck to neck, and they were the top two horses in like the last quarter mile. And along comes this third horse, a 80-1 long shot named Rich Strike, who ends up sneaking up on both horses, Epicenter and Zidane, and uh, Rich Strike actually outran both horses, and he actually got to the finish line before they both did. So Rich Strike at 80-1, being a long shot, won the Kentucky Derby of 2022. That was pretty awesome. And of course, what happens afterwards was kind of funny because I guess officials on horses, they're trying to calm down the winning horse and try to bring the winning horse to like the winner's circle for like pictures and everything with the horse rider and people that are waiting at the winner's circle. But Rich Strike was actually like still amped up, and it was almost as if he was trying to get other horses to still race with him, or the fact that he was trying to bite other horses. Like he was still so amped up that not only did he win, but he wanted to race again or something. That was kind of funny. And you can see the official trying to punch the head of Rich Strike because he's trying to calm him down and try to bring him over to the winner's circle, but Rich Strike would not have it. And eventually, I guess, they got him to calm down or something. So that was pretty kind of hilarious. Um, well, the other fights on the UFC 274 card, there was the co-main event, which was for the 115-pound women's championship held by Rose Namajunas, facing off with a former enemy opponent that she lost to. Actually, was the former champ Carla Esparza, and Carla Esparza actually was able to eke out enough um, points from the judges to win the title by decision, unanimous decision or split decision or something. So by decision, Esparza actually beat Namajunas again. Now, granted, the whole entire 25 minutes, it's not one of my favorite type of fights. It's basically um, counters of counters of counters, and there wasn't a lot of action going on for like most of the fight, and that kind of irks me because I get that as a chess match going on, and if you're in there, you understand why, and I totally get that. But as I'm trying to watch and in my mind kind of also kind of judge it too, like it's hard for me to give points to either fighter because there wasn't a lot of contact, and um I guess octagon aggression is like probably the last criteria of how you would score for either fighter, and that was all you can really do. So I feel bad for Rose because like I think she could have beat her, Carla Esparza. She probably could have beaten Carla, but the way that they're just too afraid to approach each other, get close, and no one get a hit, wants to go commit and get inside. But I feel that they either could kind of run it back, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the same fight again. There might be a little more aggressive. They might actually take more chances, and somebody might get clipped, might get knocked out, might end up in submission, might end up in a head kick, something. I think if they go again and run it back, I think it's gonna be a lot different. But I think with so much time has gone past by, and they both been on different paths actually, and they both improve since that fight. Rose was like almost on top of the world as the women's champ at 115, and all of a sudden, I guess it might have been like a mental thing where she gets to face an old opponent that has a big chip on her shoulder because like she lost to her, she got submitted by Carla. So it's time for her to pay her back and prove that not only is she champ now, but prove that she's over the time that she lost to Carla. And but unfortunately, for 25 minutes, Rose could not do that, and the judges declared that on points that Carla did more in their eyes, that did more to win the fight than Rose did. But in a way, I kind of don't disagree with it, but at the same time, I kind of do. But I mean, it is what it is, and um, you know what? Maybe they'll decide to do it down the road one more time. But I wouldn't mind if these gals go in different directions. So there's probably a lot of other contenders coming up, and who knows, either stay in the weight class or move up to 125. Um, oh, speaking of which, 125. One of my favorite female fighters, Tracy Cortez. She fought um, another 125er named Gotti or Gatto, and Tracy Cortez was able to win 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards. So kudos to Tracy Cortez. I knew she would win, and I've been following her since she won her contract from the Dana White Contender Series. So um, I can't wait to see what's up for her next because eventually she's going to have a ranking next to her name in the 125 division. So I don't know. Maybe down the road she might be able to, face Valentina for the 125 championship, and that would be kind of cool. So I like how Tracy's game is because even though she looked like she might be in trouble, but she was able to counter um, positioning um, when they were on the ground. And it looked like that maybe what was her name? Gata, what was trying to gain an advantage on in mountain positions down in the grappling area, but Tracy was just able to counter it, and she ended up on top a few times and trying to deliver some elbows and any kind of damage. So I like the fact that Tracy has been working on her skills, and she can't be outmatched in like either striking or wrestling. So I like where she is right now, and she's just only gonna get better. And she's also has um, some guidance from her future husband, Brian Ortega, who is just awesome. So she has like a good camp around her, and I think with good people, good personnel, that she's just gonna excel for the next few years. So I'm kind of excited to see how she does. So um, also on the UFC 274, I watched Randy Brown fight Chaos Williams. I felt that it was the right decision that Randy Brown did defeat Chaos Williams for 3 rounds. I think it was like a split decision, but by decision, I kind of figured Randy Brown would have, tired out Chaos Williams, and um, I feel that Chaos Williams kind of has only like one mode or one set of skills, and that's usually just power striking. So if anything else happens, like with like wrestling or jiu-jitsu, um, I feel like he's just not well adapt to it, and if he's encountering that kind of fight style, uh, he probably won't win the fight unless he got a quick knockout, which is how I kind of viewed him for his previous fights. Um, and I'm pretty sure like he can still have knockout power later in the fights, but I feel like with a guy like with Randy Brown, and he actually did clock Randy Brown a few times, but Randy Brown was able to kind of just somewhat pick him apart, and then he was, I guess, in a way, collecting points in the judge's eyes. So um, I felt like he won at least 2 of the 3 rounds, and I was telling people in my group on the yesterday at the Society Bar in PB that Randy Brown was going to win, even though he had some scary moments where he could have been knocked out eventually by Chaos Williams. But I felt like I felt like um, Randy Brown was starting to get his groove, and he started to kind of find advantages where he can find it, find weaknesses he can exploit. So um, Randy Brown ended up winning, like I had thought. So um, there was the Shogun Rua versus Ovin St. Prix, St. Preux matchup on the main card. Um, I felt that St. Preux was going to win again because their first encounter, Shogun got knocked out, I believe, in 31 seconds the first time. So this time it lasted all 15 minutes. Now, I did feel that this fight was a bunch of old timers fighting each other. So watching Shogun Rua fight in St. Preux, if it was that same feel again, that it was like 2 old timers just slugging it out like before. And I'm pretty sure Shogun Rua wanted to get back at St. Preux. But St. Preux was able to eke out a decision against Rua. So I was right about that one too. So I was wrong about Namajunas. I'm okay with that. I actually there was another fight on the undercard that I was actually wrong about. I actually thought that Dumont was going to beat Chayasan. That one went to this, I think, split decision. One of the judges had it 29-28 for Dumont, but the other 2 judges actually had it 30-27 for Chiasan. So, um, and I kind of like rooted for Dumont only because she did pretty well against one of the top contenders before at the time it was Aspen Ladd. Only because Aspen Ladd was like this hot up and comer in the women's division. Um, in her corner, her coach is actually her, I think, husband or boyfriend or something, and it became well publicized that when Dumont defeated Aspen Ladd during that whole entire like 15 or 25 minutes, in some ways, a lot of people, and I actually myself kind of thought that it was something kind of weird how the coach was kind of criticizing her. But I guess in a way, you kind of have to kind of either somehow separate the two between um, boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife, and fighter and coach. But I don't know if in some ways, because of what was happening, that the two were kind of blended together. And I can see why people kind of have an issue with it because if it's someone that you are, I guess, seeing that you can't exactly speak to your loved one in that sense, but at the same time, it is a, a relationship where it's fighter and coach. So you kind of have to, in a way, kind of help your fighter in some strange way to try to improve her situation because whatever strategy they had going into the fight, it wasn't working out. And I'm always an advocate if your game plan does work and it keeps working and it gets to a position where the situation gets worse but in your favor, you should stick to the game plan. But in this case, the game plan didn't work for like the first 2 to 4 rounds or something. And honestly, if you try something else, then try it because if your game plan doesn't work for most of the fight, then you're not going to win on points based on what your current strategy is. So you got to try something else from what you've learned, and hopefully the opportunity presents itself before the fight's over, and you don't want the fight to go to the judges because you don't know what they're seeing, and you don't want to have that feeling where you kind of feel like um, if you're winning or not. Um, and you kind of have to take things into your own hands, and you might have to take a risk and go for a knockout or go for a submission, because that's probably the only way that you can win the fight. Because at that point, if you feel like you're losing on points, um, then you got to do something to try to win the fight at that point. So yeah. And I believe that's all the fights I remember being on the. Oh yeah, there was the Michael Chandler Tony Ferguson fight. Oh gosh, that was fun to watch actually, because I actually thought initially in my mind I thought Tony Ferguson, if he was able to kind of get through the, um, I guess the rough waters, just trying to get a good feel of what Michael Chandler actually does, in his fights and how he presented his fight style to Tony Ferguson. I actually thought that maybe it was gonna go like the entire 15 minutes, and Tony Ferguson could kind of exploit something of Michael Chandler, maybe just make Michael Chandler just like one dimensional in a sense. Because Michael Chandler, in my mind, I thought he was purely a power hitter, a power striker. So I didn't know like if there was anything else he could really do. Now the thing is, um, I guess the first round, in a way that Tony, I guess I don't know if I have felt like Tony won the first round, and because like he was able to kind of pick apart Michael Chandler sometimes during that first round, but once the second round came around, the front kick out of nowhere. And apparently, Michael Chandler said that he actually doesn't actually practice the front kick, and he happened to throw it, and he just caught Tony Ferguson flush 17 seconds into the second round, and that was it. And Tony Ferguson just crumbled, melted onto the mat, and that was it. And I can't wait for Michael Chandler to challenge some of these guys. Like he wants a rematch with Charles Oliveira for the 155 championship, which I could see happening again. Of course, there's also a rematch in what was a war before with between Michael Chandler and Gaethje. That was fun to watch too. Like you kind of felt like either fighter was going to go at least going to fall down at some point because they're both power hitters. Um, but the third fight that's coming up, or fourth fight, Michael Chandler wants to challenge Conor McGregor. Oh man, I want to watch that. And apparently they're going to do it at 170. So I can't wait for that. So this year, before the end of 2022, hopefully they put some of these good fights together, and I can't wait and share those memories with my buddies on fight nights. Um, so it was a good sports weekend. UFC, um, boxing with Canelo. Um, oh, and Stanley Cup playoffs. Like just now, the LA Kings, my team, actually won 4-0, so they able to bounce back, and they have evened the series with the Edmonton Oilers in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So they're going to go back to Edmonton. Um, I think on Tuesday for Game Five, and I'm actually looking at tickets to see if it's possible for me to actually go to Game Six in LA. If there is one, I can look into it and might just go for the experience. I hopefully the Kings will pull it out and win the series, and then face what might look like the Dallas Stars, because they have a 2-1 lead on the Calgary Flames, who actually won the Pacific Division, but it's starting to look like the Calgary Flames are a little vulnerable right now, and they might actually lose the Dallas Stars. And this side of the bracket for the LA Kings might actually look very favorable. And if they happen to get past the Edmonton Oilers and they get past either Calgary or Dallas, the team to beat, who's going to be lurking in the Western Conference Finals, is going to be the Colorado Avalanche, who is actually up 3-0 in their series against the Nashville Predators. So Calgary, the not Calgary, the Colorado Avalanche, looking looking pretty good now, and they might already be well into their playoff form. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. And the St. Louis Blues also won today, so they even the series 2-2 with the Minnesota Wild. So Game 5 is going to go back to Minnesota. Um, the President's Cup winners, that's usually given to the hockey team that has scored the most um, points um, through 82 games. So essentially, with the most points, it usually comes with the best record, usually, and that's the Florida Panthers. Now, the Florida Panthers, I guess, was probably one of the two Cup favorites for the Stanley Cup. However, they've already lost 2 games to the Washington Capitals, so they should try to win tomorrow because tomorrow's Game 4 in DC, and if Washington wins that one again, that puts the Florida Panthers, the President Cup champs, in a very deep hole because not a lot of teams can come back from 3-1 in like almost any sport, but it has happened. But um, you almost feel like once you're down 3-1 that you have a lot going against you. So it should be kind of interesting how that's going to go. And I will probably keep some tabs on that hockey game tomorrow. Oh yeah, there's also, I believe the Penguins are up 2-1 on the Rangers, and um, the Bruins and Hurricanes, I believe, are tied 2-2. So some good hockey is going on. Like very competitive aside from the Avalanche and Predators, but so it should be fun to watch. And just earlier today, the Dallas Mavericks beat the Phoenix Suns, who were like the West favorites. Now Dallas, with Luka Doncic, was able to even the series 2-2 with the Phoenix Suns, and then they're going to be heading back for Game 5 in Phoenix. That's a fun series to watch, and I'm kind of curious how that's going to end up because I like Luka Doncic on Dallas, and I like Devin Booker on the Phoenix Suns. So it's a pretty exciting game, and a good chance the NBA champion might come from that pairing. But also, I'm also liking what's going on between Memphis and Golden State Warriors. Warriors are up 2-1, and they're at home tomorrow. Um, but it looks like John Morant, the superstar from the Memphis Grizzlies, he's not going to be able to play because of a supposed injury from Game 3. Jordan Poole might have pulled um, John Morant's knee back in a weird position, apparently breaking a player's code. So John Moran may not be available for Game 4 tomorrow. So Warriors might actually win tomorrow and go up 3-1. So they might actually finish off the Memphis Grizzlies within a few days. So it might actually end up being Dallas and Golden State playing for the West Championship. So on the other side for the East, the Bucks are up 2-1 on the Boston Celtics. I actually thought Boston was going to put up a good fight, but now it looks like Boston might be running out of steam right now. And the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis just figured things out, and they look like they're dominating the series. And they might actually win again tomorrow to go up 3-1. And I don't know if Boston's going to have it in them to try to even the series. So the other matchup in the East is Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. Even though the Miami Heat are top seed in the East, but after Joel Embiid is back with the Sixers, who also has a sidekick in James Harden, it looks like the Sixers are looking pretty formidable, and they're making it very hard for Miami. So now the series is tied, I believe, 2-2 between Miami and Philadelphia. So the East and West has some really good matchups in the second round. So I can't wait for more basketball. So yeah, basketball, hockey, fights, Kentucky Derby. Hey, even the Sango Seals, they're in the Western Conference Finals. against the Colorado Mammoth in lacrosse. So that's pretty awesome. All right, this is Tiggy Maximus, and I'm out. Bye, guys.